All right, this is one of the last questions in homework number 13. Um, Give it a try yourself, but because it's very wordy, I thought I'd go ahead and do a video of this one. I think it's not anything new, but it is very wordy. So let's take a look at it. In a past election, voter turnout was 78%. In a survey, 853 subjects were asked if they voted in the election. Okay. It says find the mean and standard deviation for the numbers of voters in groups 853. So let's just start there. We are told N is 853. That's how many voters we're looking at. And in this case, P will be the probability of turnout. This is voter turnout, meaning people show up in a town. And it looks like 78% of people in the community that voted, that showed up, they turned up. So that's going to be 0.78 as a percent. And then as we know, Q is the complement of P, the number of voters that did not turn up in a town. 78% is actually very high, but the remaining 22% did not show up. We know that P plus Q equals 1. All right, so what is the mean? We know that the mean equals N times P. So in this case, it's going to be 853 times P, which is 0.78. And that is going to equal, doing that on my calculator, is going to equal 665.3. Again, I think we round it to the 10th, but you can check the question. All right, so out of a group of 853, you can expect 665.3 people to show up. With a standard deviation of, the formula for standard deviation, it was the square root of N times P times Q. So that's going to equal the square root of 853 times P, which is 0.78, times the Q, which is the 0.22. And again, you want to make sure to multiply all that together before you actually hit your square root sign. And it looks like we get a standard deviation of 12.1. 12.1. All right, so that answers part A. Now it says in part B, in a survey of 853 people, 677 said they voted in the election. Is this result consistent with the turnout, or is this result unlikely to occur in a turnout with 78%? Why or why not? So really, in a fancy way, what they're trying to determine is are people really telling the truth? Is 677, is 600, my goodness, what's going on with this pen here? Is 677 unusual? Okay, that's really the question, the statistical question that's being asked. If it's very unusual, then you can maybe be a little suspicious that some people are saying they turned out when they actually didn't, or vice versa. So the way we determine usual or unusual is we've got to find those standard deviations. I think the best way to do that is to always just draw a normal distribution. It's just a good habit to get into. And we're going to go ahead and draw that mean and standard deviation right in. I like to use a couple different colors. In this case, X is equal to number of people who turn out in a group of 853, and we can expect a mean of 665.3 with a standard deviation of 12.1. All right, so again, our line for unusual is out here. I'm going to just do the right side because I can see that 677 is more than 665. We could do this two ways. We could actually find two standard deviations above the mean. What is this value here? And find out if 677 is within this, where the z-score is 2. Or we can also just find the z-score for 677, which is very easy. The formula for finding the z-score is x minus the mean over the standard deviation. So in this case, it is 677 minus 665.3 divided by our standard deviation of 12.1, and you can just do that all on the calculator. And it will yield us a z-score of 0.14. Okay, so we're actually in very close. If I take another color here, maybe this one, I'm going to just plot this point here. 0.14 is just very, very close in. All right, this is a z-score of 0.14, and that is where our 677 is. All right, so I don't think that's unusual at all to have that kind of voter turnout. So then when we get to letter C, the question is, based on these results, does it appear that accurate voting results can be obtained by asking voters how they acted? I would say yes, because it's totally within normal range that these people said that they voted, and that's just the number. And that's how a lot of political polls are taken. They're just strictly asking people as they come out of the voting booths, how did you vote or did you vote? And that's how a lot of these polls come from. How do you plan to vote? So when they say, for example, that the Democratic candidate is up by so many points, this can be strictly from asking people. So go ahead and give that problem a try. It's really not difficult in terms of the material that we've used in past problems. It's the same. Good luck.